Why is he commemorating anything for being mayor of San Francisco? The city's never been the same. Like when he was mayor, he wasn't mayor. He was busy trying to be governor. Then the city went to hell. Then he becomes the governor of California trying to be president, and the state goes to hell. Yeah, he's never doing his job.
I agree with that message. I just hate that it's coming from Greg Gutfeld. But it is true. California Governor Gavin Newsom somehow finds way to reveal his narcissism is even worse than we previously expected.
Yes. When Anna Kasparian, a member of the Young Turks, attacked California Governor Gavin Newsom, she didn't hold back. She harshly questioned Newsom's financial choices behind the scenes, his emphasis on high-profile projects, and his policies. Among the subjects she spoke were public funds, political choices, and even a controversial bronze statue of Newsom in San Francisco City Hall. I'll outline what Kasparian revealed today, its importance, and its connection to broader political issues in California and beyond. If you want to stay educated and hold politicians accountable, you won't want to miss this video. So listen. Let's begin.
Why is he commemorating anything for being mayor of San Francisco? The city's never been the same. Like when he was mayor, he wasn't mayor. He was busy trying to be governor. Then the city went to hell. Then he becomes the governor of California trying to be president, and the state goes to hell. Yeah, he's never doing his job.
I agree with that message. I just hate that it's coming from Greg Gutfeld. But it is true. California Governor Gavin Newsom somehow finds ways to reveal his narcissism is even worse than we previously expected. And he is funding projects for his own vanity, even as he gets blowback over his glazing of right-wing figures on his new podcast. So, in fact, there was this bust of Newsom in San Francisco City Hall, and a new book exposes the origins of this monument and how it was funded. Now, before becoming governor of California back in 2019, that terrible, fateful day, he served as the mayor of San Francisco between 2004 and 2011, and then later he was the lieutenant governor between 2011 and 2019. However, in 2015, SF Gate, the publication, noted that Gavin Newsom and his great hair may get permanent city hall spot, referring to the bust, also gross. In the article, they write that the bust is the brainchild of Newsom supporters, and it will be paid for with private funds they will raise, said Newsom. It has been in the works for a few years, but no one's worked on it. It's been an idea that's been floating around, he says. He doesn't even know who those supporters and fundraisers are. Now, remember that statement. Remember that quote. Keep it in your mind as I give you more details of this story, because that information is going to come in handy in a little bit. So at the same time, Newsom also said, I don't want to call it embarrassing, but it's a strange thing. I'm just awkward about it. But now the word is out. Like pretending as though he didn't ask for this. I mean, it's embarrassing. He's so humble. This is so embarrassing for him. Like, he's such a snake. Okay, so here's the...
One of the primary issues in Anna Kasparian's recent criticism of Governor Gavin Newsom is the controversy surrounding the bronze bust that is on exhibit at San Francisco City Hall. At first, Newsom denied any role in the statue's creation or financing, claiming that it was solely the product of the fervor and individual contributions of his followers. New information, however, seems to refute this assertion. According to a recent book, Newsom's own businesses paid for around $10,000 of the estimated $100,000 cost of the bust. This finding raises major concerns about self-promotion, transparency, and the use of influence in public life.
Out that, Newsom lied. What a shocker. In fact, he helped raise money for the bust. He solicited donations himself. So according to this new book called Fool's Gold, the radicals, con artists, and traitors who killed the California dream and now threaten us all, Newsom used something known as behested payments to help raise money to fund this monument. I've talked about behested payments. I can't believe another story is in the news about it today. I feel like I've opened the floodgates, so You're welcome, everybody. But behested payments or contributions made by donors and their political made by donors that their political clients ask them to make on their behalf. The book says that Newsom's payments show 3 private organizations, 2 of which are companies owned by Newsom, donating to a nonprofit earmarked for mayoral bust at San Francisco City Hall. Balboa Cafe Partners and Plump Jack Management Group are the Newsom-owned organizations, donating a combined $10,000 to $97,000 for the bust. I'm sorry, $10,000 to the $97,000 bust. So the bust almost cost $100,000, and his organizations donated a sizable chunk of the funding for it. Projects run by his current wife, Jennifer Cybele Newsom. And as I've shared with you guys before, like this whole behested payment system is basically corruption on steroids. And it's even worse than what's happening with these super PACs because it's less regulated when a politician solicits donations for a nonprofit that they control. Those nonprofits do not have to abide by the same rules and regulations as a super PAC would have, right? So I wrote about this in a piece titled "When Brazen Corruption is Rebranded as Charitable Giving." In it, I talk a lot about Newsom specifically. I'll give you a little excerpt here. Governor Gavin Newsom, who directed more than $226.5 million in behested payments in 2020 when COVID emerged, reportedly raised $13.85 million from the practice in 2024, including $450,000 from Goldman Sachs Philanthropy Fund, $250,000 from Fidelity Investments Charitable Gift Fund. You guys get the picture, right? Same type of corporate donors that we're usually talking about when we discuss corruption in our political system. But in this case, they are donating to nonprofits controlled by Newsom or his wife. And really, there's little oversight of that money. The reporting.
The use of behest money by Governor Gavin Newsom raises further concerns about his political ethics. Gifts made to nonprofit organizations at the specific request of political people are known as behest payments. There might be potential for significant financial influence without investigation, since some of these groups have disclosed ties to Newsom or his spouse. These contributions operate in a gray area and are exempt from the strict regulations that apply to super PACs, even if they are legal. Additionally, contributors receive tax savings for what seem to be charitable gifts, even though the donations may eventually support initiatives that support the political or personal objectives of the people making the request. Kasparian is adamantly against this tactic, saying it is a way to finance political power and vanity projects under the guise of charity. Instead than focusing on a single person, this issue highlights a broader pattern of structural defects and money power in American politics. The $100,000 monument is not only pricey, but it also represents a culture where public employees may use donor networks to avoid accountability. It reminds the average American that political power can be misused for personal benefit instead of the benefit of society as a whole. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of Anna Kasparian's analysis is the pattern of dissatisfaction she discovers among progressive voters and observers.
In order to even disclose the behested payments. And on top of that, the corporate donors and moneyed interests who contribute to these nonprofits in order to have some sway over elected lawmakers or politicians, they get to deduct their donation from their taxes because it appears as though they're giving to some sort of foundation or charitable cause because it's a nonprofit, when in reality, it's part of a political operation. In this case, we're talking about Gavin Newsom using nonprofits to raise money for his own projects, including a bust of himself in San Francisco City Hall. So following the report, Newsom's office has gone on a warpath, but they're really not helping themselves out, which does not surprise me. So you have the spokesperson for Gavin Newsom saying, to imply the governor personally funded or proposed this effort is categorically false. As is customary in the city, the effort was independently proposed by a nonprofit and funded by private donors, not taxpayers. Yeah, we know it's not funded by taxpayers. We know it's funded by private donors who donated to nonprofits that Gavin Newsom has control over. But further, the spokesperson says this was reported at the time and isn't news now. I think it's newsworthy. That's why
Gavin Newsom and other left-leaning politicians usually win power on grand promises, only to let their supporters feel duped by their actions. Voters, however, usually continue to support these politicians despite mounting dissatisfaction due to habit or misplaced optimism, which perpetuates a vicious cycle in which the leadership becomes increasingly distant and self-serving. Kasparian's comment draws attention to a more serious issue. Progressive management regularly reverts to the same ineffective and dishonest practices that it claims to be fighting. She is also adamant that stringent government regulation is required. Government agencies tasked with looking into political activities, such as the DOJ's Office of the Inspector General, are essential in exposing corruption, nepotism, and waste. However, it is important to remember that political leaders from all parties, but particularly from the left, usually oppose these watchdogs, dismissing their findings as skewed or unnecessary. However, as Kasparian's research demonstrates, openness shouldn't be a partisan issue. Restoring public trust in government requires holding public officials accountable, whether the misconduct comes from Republicans or Democrats. The time has come for both sides to stop viewing criticism as an attack and instead see it as a crucial safeguard against the growing concentration of political power.